Evaluating the Broncos' future with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton here, NFL on NBC with Pro Football Talk. Horrific performance from the Broncos last night. They followed the Chiefs. Russell Wilson has completely fallen off physically, mentally. He is awful. I mean, he is one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's hard to watch, too, because Russell in Seattle was great. Russell in Seattle, controversial yet brave, but Russell in Seattle should be compared to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. His career in Seattle should be kind of the same as how Ben Roethlisberger is viewed in his time in Pittsburgh. Russell was that good. He was an MVP level guy who took a team to multiple Super Bowls. This was a guy. I made plenty of arguments that he's the best quarterback in the NFL during his peak. And now to watch him, he's not even a shell of his former self. And the Broncos are, man, I mean, you talk about a team that took a swing and missed. They went all in on Russell Wilson, who's terrible. They went all in on Sean Payton to win, who now has to rebuild. There's no question now. Because if it's between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, Sean Payton's going to win. They're not one and done in Sean Payton. So now they've paid Sean Payton all this money and all the assets they gave away to get Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. They did all that to do a rebuild. They have a first-round pick this year, their first-round pick. So they better hope now that they're bad enough to get one of these top quarterbacks. They have to do that. They have to land a quarterback because they have to have a quarterback on a rookie contract because their financials are so messed up. They can get out from the Russell Wilson contract, but they have to eat like $100 million. And they'll do it. That's how bad Russell's been. They will eat $100 million so that he doesn't have to play. As far as a rebuilding situation, this is as bad of a situation as you can be in. Because we already know they're moving assets. They've already said Jerry Jeudy's going to be traded. They're already kind of trimming the roster. Russell will be gone. So it's going to be a totally barren roster with all the assets you could have had that you gave away for Russell Wilson with nothing in return. And you're going to basically get one shot in this draft because I believe they have a first, I think a third, and then it's just a bunch of fifths, something like that. Because they all, and then I think after this year, I think their picks go back to normal. I'd have to double check that. But the way they're going now, they should have like a top 5 pick. And this quarterback class is deep, but they can't miss. They cannot miss on whoever they take.
And how this goes, depending upon whether or not they can win some games. And they got the Chiefs again pretty soon. And they got other games on the schedule that you look at it and you say, it's going to be tough to win that one. Just something to consider. Because every time the question comes up about a coach being out after 1 year, the first reaction is, oh, nobody does that. Then you look at the list of all the times it's happened.
So many people do that.
Hell, that happens pretty often, grand scheme of things.
Sean's not going anywhere.
Again, I'm not
They're
saying
not getting
it
rid of
should.
Sean Payton.
I'm not saying it could. I'm not saying it would. I guess I am saying it could. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, that it should happen. I just think it's one of those things that flickers on the edge of the radar screen that if they keep losing games, it's at least a possibility because we don't know enough about the Walton Penner group to know whether or not they would say, hey, Sean, here's your $100 million parting gift. We just feel compelled to go in a different direction.
I don't think so. I think here's how I see it going. If they go 1-16, okay, I don't think there's any way they move off Sean Payton. I think they'll give Sean a couple of years to get this right. And I think Sean is built up enough, to where people trust that he can do that. But Russell, it's over. He's gone pecan. So I think what you're going to see, because if the Broncos lose out, that's the worst case scenario, right? As far as a record. So if they lose out, Sean will be staring at either the first overall pick or the second overall pick. They're going to take either Caleb Williams or Drake May, and then they'll give Sean probably 3 years, I would say, with that quarterback to see if he can get it right. But if they fire Sean Payton this year, I will eat my hat live on stream. No way they do that.
I mean, here's the reason why I don't think that will happen.
Oh, here's another reason. I hate to cut Peter King off. And Florio should know this. This is ridiculous from him. But another reason they can't do that is because they're going to have to already do that with Russell Wilson. So you're not going to pay Russell $100 million to GTFO the same season you're paying Sean $100 million to GTFO. You're going to pay $200 million in dead cap to get these two guys off your roster. Then what? You got to go get a new head coach. You're going to go get Jim Harbaugh or somebody. You're going to pay him? How? What are you going to do at quarterback? You can't do both. You can't pay Russell to leave and Payton to leave. So they're going to pay Russell to leave for sure.
Okay. You are the Walton family. You're Greg Penner, very high on the masthead of the Walton organization. Your other Waltons, obviously in this group. And so you ask yourself, you took over a team where you never even met this coach before, Nathaniel Hackett, and you see that it's spiraling out of control. So you make a change. And then you investigate, interview, and you decide that your guy is Sean Payton.
Yeah.
You not only, trade for him, you trade significant draft capital for him.
Oh, yeah.
And theoretically, if you've got $80 million left after this year to pay Sean Payton over 4 years, and whatever the number is, it's something like that, you have to ask yourself, how exactly did you make all that money with the Waltons? What did you do? Just sit back and count it, put your feet up on the table and just let it roll in? And, do you truly not understand this business where a lot of times, sometimes, the Walmart becomes Kmart.
I have absolutely no idea what Peter's talking about right here. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm lost. Do y'all know what he's talking about? I feel like I'm in a fever dream. I was with him for a second there, and then we got into making your Walmart money. Walmart turned into Kmart, which I'm not sure has ever happened. RIP Kmart. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Walmart becomes Sears.
No, it never
Walmart
does.
becomes J.C. Penney. And what I'm saying is not that this great franchise, Walmart, is going to become any of those either failed or failing franchises, whatever is going on with them. What I'm saying is you didn't get to where you are. The perch of, this giant.
This is crazy. This is nuts what I'm listening to. I was not expecting Sears to get involved in this conversation. Peter, we're going to have to, he's going to have to really find a way to circle this thing back because he's lost in the sauce right now.
Gigantic Fortune 500, 100, this Fortune 10 company, wherever they are on that list, by making knee-jerk decisions. This would feel particularly knee-jerk if you handed an employee $100 million or $90 million, whatever it is, if you handed him all this money and then said 11 months later, never mind.
Don't disagree with that. We just don't know how this group is going to react in this industry. This is far different from running a retail operation because your wins and losses are very public. Score is kept in a very different way. And while you're making plenty of money,
what the hell is going on?
There's a different way of competing than they've ever experienced in their lives. All that matters.
I mean, I'm absolutely befuddled right now. Okay, let me try and help what's going on here. If you're the Waltons, if you're the ownership group, regardless of how you made your money, if you're looking at this team and you know there's two big problems. You're paying Russell Wilson, who is terrible, and you're paying Sean Payton. I think you've seen enough of Russell Wilson to say, okay, that's the problem. Sean, you have to have longer of a period with because his age isn't a factor. Russell's age is a factor. He's a quarterback. He's on the field. So Sean is like, okay, we can give him a year, 2 years, 3 years to try and right this ship. Fine. We can get our money worth there. It's still Sean Payton. Sean Payton has a pedigree that Nathaniel Hackett did not have. So firing Hackett after however many games, totally reasonable. Payton should get a couple years, especially if we're talking about rebuilding, which they should be. So, see you, Russell. Start the rebuild. And it is what it is. Peter kind of alluded to during his rant, he kind of alluded to the draft capital situation. It is bad, but it's not as bad as it could be because they still have their first round pick. And if they're bad, when they are bad, they should be able to land a quarterback. Now, those middle rounds, those are gone. I don't think they have a second round pick. They may have a third, but it might be the Saints' third. I had to double check that. And then I don't think they have a fourth round pick. And then they have a couple fifths and a sixth. But so they got to kind of do a lot with a little. But if they get a quarterback, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter about any of those other picks if you land your guy. Now, if they whiff on that quarterback, bad news bears.
At Walmart is making money. Making money is your Super Bowl. At the NFL level, all 32 teams are winning a financial Super Bowl, but only one is winning the actual Super Bowl, and 20 teams every year end up looking like they can't fight their way out of a paper bag because they can't make it to the postseason. It's just something to keep an eye on because we don't know how these folks are going to be. But I will tell you this, and I've been saying this from day one, they are ruthless. And I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way. I just mean it as an observation.
All the ownerships are. All the owners
Walmart are ruthless. And that's how they've gotten to where they are. Take no prisoners. Never think twice.
I mean, guys, these are 32. Like, I hate when people do this, but you don't become an owner in the NFL without being ruthless. You don't become a billionaire without being ruthless. Every single owner in the NFL is ruthless. All right, Jerry Jones is ruthless. David Tepper is ruthless. If you're a businessman or a businesswoman who has made their money and enough to own an NFL team, and you're in that club of 32. And you have a team, you're ruthless. Okay, so I hate whenever they try and act like the NFL is a boardroom or the NFL is an offshoot of these people's business. When Tepper bought the Panthers, all I heard was, "Oh, well, he made his money trading stocks, so he's got to have an analytical brain, and he's going to treat his roster like a stock chart." And it's like, no, he's not. No, that doesn't work. It just sounds ridiculous to be like, "Oh, Jerry Jones is going to treat his roster like an oil machine." It's like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? So take the ownership stuff out. Every ownership wants to win. Every ownership group wants to win. And it's simple. Like, I say this all the time. It's whoever can hit on the quarterback. That's it. And Sean knows that. I trust Sean Payton to right this ship if he wants to. You got to wonder if Sean wants to with the money and the time away from the NFL and all that stuff. But out of the entire, and maybe I'm biased, but out of the entire NFL, if I had to pick who my coach would be for a rebuild in this situation, Sean would be in the first handful of people that I'd pick.
Twice, be resolute, make your decisions, analyze them ahead of time. Don't make rash decisions. But once they make that decision, they're not going to think twice about it, especially in a case like this, where if they do make that decision, Sean Payton's got a $100 million golden parachute that he escapes Denver with. So just something, as this thing goes the way it's going, with no sign it's going to turn around. And look, Payton admits he made the mistake last night. Good Lord, calling a timeout after third down. That's what does a coach do? Any coach during the game? What do you do? Now, he calls the plays, so he's caught up in the micro, but we've said this time and again, you got to be able to balance the macro and the micro. You can't be so caught up in your play sheet and what the next play is going to be that you forget what down it is. He forgot what down it was. He admits it, to his credit. He forgot what down it was, called a timeout. And
there's absolutely no doubt Sean Payton is a good coach. The question is, did we undervalue or undersell or whatever? Did we undersell the time away? And we talk about players needing to knock rust off. Maybe coaches do too. Maybe Sean right now is knocking some of that rust off. He was in the booth. He was away from the game. He was enjoying his time as an analyst or a commentator. And maybe now he's knocking that rust off. But there's no doubt in my mind that Sean Payton is a very good NFL coach. He's a very good head coach. But I think he has shown a little bit of rust.
And and helped ensure that the Chiefs would be in position to kick a 60-yard field goal to get an extra 3 points in a game where those points mattered, given how sluggish the Chiefs' offense was. So, look, we're not doing our job if we're not at least saying, folks, don't be absolutely flummoxed and flabbergasted if this happens, because we don't know enough about this ownership group to know what they'll do, and we don't know how deep this hole is going to go. But through 6 weeks, Peter, it's deeper than they thought it was going to go.
They're not firing Payton.
I would be flummoxed and flabbergasted.
Yeah, same.
Even beyond that.
Yeah,
And I'll just
agreed.
tell you why. You tell me right now, who's the golden child who's out there? Who's going to save my franchise? We just signed and hired the golden child.
Yeah, they got their guy.
You realize that it wasn't all Nathaniel Hackett's fault. That this team has some major issues. And so just because you hire...
Yeah, but Hackett was a huge problem too. Hackett lost. He was not a head coach. He lost the locker room. He was losing games, and he wasn't the guy that was going to rebuild that team. So yeah, get rid of him. Payton is the guy who can do that. I'm actually kind of shocked Florio is even throwing around the idea that they could get rid of Payton. I don't think that's even an option. I'd be absolutely flabbergasted.
The golden child coach, it doesn't mean those issues are going to go away. And I think the one thing that I would say to you and look, it's great to bring it up on October 13 at 7:30 in the morning Eastern time and just put it on the record like you never know. But the reason that that's as absolutely as far as I would go is that all you're going to do, it's just like the end of Casablanca, where you're going to hear the I'm forgetting his name, where you're going to hear the the head of the gendarmerie in Casablanca tell his men, round up the...
What? I have chills right now. I feel like I'm on a magic carpet ride. I mean, what the hell is going on? Florio is asleep at the wheel over there. Peter King has been Walmart and Sears and Casablanca, and this is bananas and pajamas. What NBC is putting on their NBC. Listen, I'll do you a favor. Give me a call. Let me fix this. Treat me like Sean Payton. All right, because right now you got a Nathaniel Hackett situation going on. NBC, give me a call, and I can try and write this ship. But this is just unbelievable what's going on.
The usual suspects, because that's all you're doing. Who's the miracle man out there right now? Who's going to come in and win you 3 more games next year than you really should? So to me, this is a time where I will be shocked if the Walton Penner group does not exercise patience and say, we're taking the hits this year, and we want to see progress this offseason. And if that entails biting the bullet on Russell Wilson, then that's what we're going to do.
Hey, Bill Belichick might be available next year, although that name doesn't have quite the same sizzle that it had.
How does that help?
Yeah, Peter, I'm with Peter. Florio's out of control right now. I mean, Florio's just saying things. Like, I'm with Peter King. Belichick doesn't help. You're going to get, even though it's not even a possibility, but like getting Belichick in the situation, that doesn't help. There's a full rebuild. The roster needs to come first before the head coach. I'm not sure. Honestly, I hate to throw this out there. It sounds like Florio's got a problem with Sean Payton, because Florio is really putting the heat on Payton. Payton's been there for 6 games. Like the heat obviously should be on the roster. The heat obviously should be on Russell Wilson, the contract, get the roster figured out, get into the draft, let Payton have some more time, see what he can do rebuilding this franchise. But this conversation has been insane.
I don't know. I don't know how that helps.
I'm trying to be funny on a Friday morning, but it doesn't help. That's not the direction that the Broncos should go if they decide to make this change. But again, We don't know. All we know about Broncos ownership is they fired Nathaniel Hackett after one season. And you can't get into that
He was garbage.
dysfunctional approach of firing a coach after every year. Fire a coach, fire a coach. You look like idiots before too long. Let's just see how it plays out. Let's just see how this season goes. But I think the two main focal points of potential change, three. Russell.
There is two. There is one. The Russell Wilson is gone. They will get out from his contract. That's the change. The roster is going to be rebuilt. Sean Payton is going to be in charge of a full rebuild, and it's going to start with their first-round pick.
Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, George Payton. I expect at most one of them is going to be back next year. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for
Holy
watching.
God. Sorry y'all had to watch the talk about no chemistry between King and Florio. King was as aggravated with Florio as I was. It was shocking. Okay, let's try and get back. Let's try and reel it in. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you're a Denver Broncos fan, is the Russell Wilson experiment over? Or are y'all getting out of his contract? And do you believe in Sean Payton as the guy who can do the rebuild? Do you think he's who will work? And is it up to getting a Caleb Williams or a Drake May? Is that it? So it's interesting times in Denver. A fallen franchise, no doubt. Hate to see what happened to Russell Wilson. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.